Hello and welcome to Business Africa. My name is Ronald Kato. Coming up on this episode, Gambia prepares to vote, but with its attention not on the politics. The country saw literally no growth last year, and its traditional cash cow, tourism, remains down. We report on the economic realities awaiting the new government. Also coming up, Forex rules continue to tighten in Central Africa. Effective January, oil companies will be required to bring back all their export earnings to the CEMAC zone, according to an order by the Bank of Central African States. Plus, what should African countries do to bring down the cost of building sustainable infrastructure? We show you how one Moroccan company is investing in local capacity growth to help countries achieve carbon-neutral development. The details coming up. So Gambians are voting on Saturday with worries about the economy evident. The West African country had traditionally depended on tourism as its major source of foreign exchange until the pandemic hit, costing the sector hundreds of millions of dollars. The IMF has warned that the country of 2.4 million people is also at high risk of debt distress. Michael Odwo and Ruth Lago now report on how years of ignoring calls for diversification could have serious consequences for leaders in Saturday's vote.
Gambians will head to the polls on Saturday to vote in presidential elections. The economy is a concern for many. After recording impressive growth in 2018 and 2019, the economy dipped last year. One of the most affected sectors was tourism. The collapse of tour operator Thomas Cook in 2019 had an impact in the sector, as it was responsible for around 40% of visitors. President Adama Barrow is seeking re-election and hailed his infrastructure achievements, such as a bridge over the Senegambia River, as crucial for the national economy. The IMF warned that Gambia's debt distress risk is high, but President Barrow dismissed the warning, downplaying worries about the economy. The economic situation showed signs of recovering in 2021, but the low rates of vaccination and the emergence of the new Omicron variant raise concerns.
My guest now is Mr. Nyang Jie. He's an economist. He joins us from the Gambian capital, Banjul. Thank you so much, sir, for your time. Just how serious was the effect of the contraction of the tourism and agriculture sectors on the economy?
Well, thank you so much. The Gambian economy is highly exposed to external shocks for the simple reason that two of our major drivers are tourism and agriculture. Agriculture depends heavily on two things: rainfall and also commodity prices internationally. Tourism depends heavily on Western Europeans coming here in the winter months of Europe, and their disposable income in Europe, if it's positive, will spell growth for the Gambia. If it's negative, it spells, a contraction. So when the COVID hit, we've all realized that the Gambia is not insulated from what's happening in the global economy. And COVID took a toll, and the economy has really manifested that it lacks resiliency. The Gambian economy is not resilient because it's not highly diversified. And this made the contraction to happen so fast. It made unemployment to go up, and it also put a lot of entrepreneurs either out of business or in distress, especially hoteliers, restaurant owners, and people who service the hospitality businesses.
Mr. Njie, what economic realities await the new government?
Well, the most pressing is the youth unemployment in the country. Gambia is faced with a youth crisis. What's a youth crisis? We have, high numbers of youths getting out of school with no possibilities or opportunities for employment or otherwise. So the youth demography are very restless, and most of them are taking the back way to Europe through the desert or the perilous Mediterranean Sea. And this is becoming a nightmare. And what we are saying is the government of the Gambia needs to find a comprehensive arrangement with the EU to make sure that we stem the tide of youths trying to leave Gambia, but we need to create opportunities for them on the ground. And I think it will be a win-win for EU and the Gambia to find ways and means of making sure Gambian youth stay here and also make a decent livelihood from where they're from.
You mentioned young people leaving the country in search of opportunities and what a resource Gambia has in its diaspora community. Over $500 million in remittances and capital transfers in 2020 alone. How do the policymakers in Banjul build on and leverage this huge opportunity?
What we are seeing is remittances have gotten up. It means Gambians outside are sending in a lot. But what we want is just not remittance coming in, because these people are sending money to help families build homes. We want the government, by way of the central bank, to come up with a diaspora investment fund. We can come up with a bond, and these diasporans will invest in these bonds, and the monies that the government is getting and the returns will be spent on infrastructure projects, hospitals, good roads, better schools. And that's the only way we can accelerate the development of this country. So the diaspora are a very important component of the Gambian way of life. But unfortunately, the government to date cannot understand or make the most out of it. It's been 5 years. We haven't guaranteed them the right to vote. So we are hopeful that next government coming will pay them attention and give them the respect they deserve.
Welcome back. Now, countries in the Central African Monetary Zone, or CEMAC, are heavily dependent on oil and imports. Since oil prices fell, Chad, Equatorial Guinea, Congo, Gabon, Cameroon, and Central African Republic, the bloc's only non-oil economy, have battled currency shortages. To shore up their reserves, the region's bank imposed restrictions on forex transfers in 2019, which severely hurt the operations of the companies. The bank has now announced even tougher guidelines.
Central African states will require companies in the oil and gas sectors to bring back all their export earnings home in accordance with the new foreign exchange rules which take effect in January. The announcement was made by Governor of the Bank of Central African States at a meeting with companies' heads in Douala.
The CFAF does not fluctuate. It is stable. This must be protected, and the purchasing power of citizens must be protected. The monetary union is essentially based on the retrocession of foreign currency from export of goods.
While industries in the extractive sectors, mines and hydrocarbons have always enjoyed preferential treatment, the bank says it's critical that their earnings from mineral sales are brought back to avoid a currency crisis.
In 2018, when we're still at the beginning of the drafting of this text, the depreciation of the central bank represented barely $0.5 billion. Today, without the extractive sectors, we have more than $1.36 billion that are retroceded by other economic agents.
There was no word from the heads of the affected companies on the new rules.
So the cost of building infrastructure in Africa remains high, partly because the machinery and the expertise needed has to come from elsewhere. The projects also have to conform to the continent's climate goals. Here's how GESA, a Moroccan engineering firm, views its role in helping Africa build sustainable infrastructure.
The COVID-19 pandemic has exposed and made worse the critical infrastructure deficit in Africa. But there is also climate change. With severe weather events expected to become more frequent in the coming years, countries face a battle against time to invest in sustainable and bankable infrastructure. One Moroccan company is developing innovative solutions to help countries build cost-effective and climate-sensitive infrastructure. Sales director for the company says GESA is poised to solve Africa's problems in sustainable development.
The real challenge today for African countries is to create local human capabilities for sustainable development. Indeed, GESA has been created to address this challenge, and we are offering today world-class solutions executed by recognized expertise from our shareholders, combined with local capabilities trained according to best international standards. GESA puts sustainability at the heart of everything we do, from inception to delivery.
The African Development Bank estimates that the continent's infrastructure financing needs will be as much as $170 billion a year by 2025, with an estimated gap of around $100 billion a year. Experts say countries must attract private finance to complement public resources.
And that wraps up this episode of Business Africa. My name is Ronald Kato. Follow me on Twitter at Roni Kulabako. The news is next on Africanews and at africanews.com. Bye for now, and I'll see you on the next episode of Business Africa.